Thank you. Hi, you can hear me loud and clear, right? Okay, sorry, it's a job thing. I always worry whether people can hear me clearly and whether I sound okay. All right, good morning. Yeah, thank you for the wonderful introduction. I actually forgot some of the things that I've done. Uh, okay, so today we're gonna be well, I hope that you are going to learn a little bit more about my job and perhaps be a little bit inspired to find out more or maybe work towards becoming a radio star. So today's presentation is So You Want to Be a Radio Star. I think in this day and age, a lot of young minds and uh, very passionate, very driven, motivated young people. We look at becoming a star as one of the dreams. It's actually a very possible and a very the dream that's within reach. I think much more today than during when I was a teenager, I guess. So that's why I chose the word radio star. Actually, I was wondering if I should say, so you want to be a radio DJ. But I think radio star is more of a 2024 way of looking at radio personalities. So actually, you can also change the title of this presentation to "So You Want to Be a Radio Personality." All right, let's move straight into what we'll be doing today. What we'll be covering today, the contents. Just a brief introduction. So I'll let you know what I do in further detail, of course. How I started, I think it was briefly mentioned in the introduction. What I love about my job and what I love a little bit less about my job, which are things that I think we all need to know before we decide whether we want to do something for reals. Okay, and of course, what you need is also very important. You need to have certain skills, certain strengths to be able to excel in the radio landscape. So, and of course, at the end of the presentation, feel free to ask me any questions if you have any. Okay, so first up, what I actually do. Uh, so, this is a question that many people, no, actually, it's not a question. Usually, when someone tells me or tries to guess what I do, the most common thing the person says is, "Oh, you're a radio producer presenter." Okay, nobody says that. "Oh, you're a radio DJ." Oh, okay. So you just play songs and talk lah, right? Well, if you want to summarize it that way, yes, I do that a lot. I play songs and I talk a lot. And that's on MediaCorp Radio, yes, 933, which is, of course, the number one. Number one, yes, it's the number one radio station in terms of listenership based on the latest listenership survey. Yes, by AC Nielsen. So we are the station with the most listeners. Thank you so much. If you tune in, thank you for your support. So I've been at MediaCorp Radio, yes, 933 for more than 20 years. I have also been a TV host, events MC, voice talent, actress, yeah, and many more. I'll tell you a little bit more about perhaps the more interesting or glamorous parts of my job. Okay, so basically, I provide a service with my voice. That's how I see my job. I host the Brunch Time show now from Mondays to Fridays, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And like me, every full-time radio DJ has his or her own weekday radio show, as well as one or two other weekend show or podcast. So podcast is actually a newer part of our job now. We didn't used to have that, but now we do. This is the presenter part, which you normally hear. So next, I also am a producer, right? So the producing part, we create our own shows. The 3 hour or 4 hour or 2 hour show is entirely up to us to produce, and we write a lot. Some of the stuff we write includes scripts for content like on-air trailers, radio dramas, and even social media posts nowadays. So we also do audio production, like actual recording, editing of waveforms, adding in sound effects, music, layering everything. Yeah, that type of audio production in our recording studios. So using professional audio production equipment and software. We produce mainly the audio content for on-air play, such as our station jingles, our shows, openers and closers, and tags. So things like perhaps if you're familiar with Class 95, Buttons in the Morning, yeah, that's produced by us. Or if they have if there is sometimes also a producer attached to the show, but the direction, the way it's done, it's usually decided by the radio DJ hosting the show. I'm sure you're also familiar with special segments like charts, yeah, K-pop charts, entertainment news bites, etc. Okay, so I'm also a voice talent. I voice commercials, educational content, SLS content, yeah, and TV programs as well. And TV shows, English and Mandarin, hosted quite a few during my 20 years. I think I was told that maybe I should share some of the highlights, yes, of the things that I've done. So I think some of the more memorable shows that I've done or hosted, events that I've hosted, include the inaugural Youth Olympic Games opening ceremony in 2010. And I've also hosted many movie galas, but one of the most memorable ones was, of course, X-Men: Days of Future Past, Southeast Asian premiere in Singapore. So there was Hugh Jackman came, Peter Dinklage was here, Fan Bingbing, and my co-host was the handsome Art. So it was really very memorable for me. Okay, so let's take a look at the next slide. It is an extension of what I do. So I chose some photos from my camera roll and my IG to sort of show you the kind of experience that you can get other than the on-air portion that you hear as a radio personality. So more recently, I visited Beijing to cover Taiwanese rock band Mayday's concert. I was invited to attend the concert and also to visit the Bird's Nest Stadium stage before the concert. So I got to stand up on their stage. That's the first picture on the left with me, with my arms in the air, facing the audience. So it was, of course, not during their concert. It was just a kind of like behind the scenes experience to see how they built their stage, which was really interesting. Other crazier stuff I've done include representing Singapore on stage at the KBS Music Bank World Tour in 2017. That was a Korean pop music show. So I co-hosted the show with Park Bo-gum and Irene of Red Velvet. Not sure if you're familiar with them. I think young people generally are. Also, another movie gala that I've done, that's the picture on the right, on the top row on the right. Press conference and gala for the movie Cold War 2, which is a Cantonese movie starring Chow Yun-fat, Aaron Kwok, and Eddie Peng. Yeah. So this was really very memorable for me because it was a very long day. So I had to host the press conference with the press, and then and I also had to record interviews with each of the actors for airplay, for radio play, and then the gala, which was when so many people came to watch them, so many guests attended the gala, and then we had to introduce the movie on stage. And it was a very, very good learning experience, both in terms of hosting stamina and also to see how, stars, mega stars like Chow Yun-fat carry themselves, and make a promotional tour really interesting. Yeah, and it's not just plainly trying to push the movie to you, trying to sell tickets, but he was really charismatic and fun, yeah, and professional at the same time. So that was a nice experience. Okay, and I'll just quickly go through the lower layer. On the left, I once worked as an air stewardess. It was part of a promo program for radio. I really took the flight and went and flew back immediately after that. So because we wanted to create something fun for our listeners and also for the brand. So I was the air stewardess on that flight. Okay, I also had to shower for the camera as brand ambassador of Cetaphil. And also another airline project that's the lower right. The photo on the lower right is another airline project, promo project which brought the 933 morning show to different quick vacation destinations with a celeb every week. And this was to Ipoh with Sean Chen. So that was very crazy, that period of time, because we went to a different place every week to host the 933 morning radio show. And we also took a lot of social media content, of course. Okay, so let's take a look at the next slide. Uh, how I started, I think it was mentioned in the introduction. So I joined the station, 933, as a part-timer during my uni days. And then I joined them full-time upon graduation. So after participating in the first ever DJ search, it was 1999, I think, yes, because I was in JC2. So yes, I remember that. So, and then after that, I joined in uni as a part-timer. And well, maybe just a little fun trivia. This was not the first DJ competition I entered. Back in secondary school, I took part in an English radio DJ search and failed. So during my secondary school days, I listened solely to English pop music. So when I went to join the 933 competition, it was actually with friends. My friends were more interested. They listened to 933, but I didn't. So when we went together to join the competition, the only Mendo pop singer I knew was Ame. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, Zhang Hui Mei. She recently had a wonderful concert here just last weekend. Yeah. So this helped me a lot. As I remember, one part of the DJ competition required me to introduce a Mando pop song. So I only knew about her. So I chose her and I introduced her song. Yeah. Besides having a Bachelor of Communication Studies degree from Wee School of Communication and Information, I've always loved Chinese as a spoken and written language. So I was lucky enough to be a language elective program scholar in Hwa Chong JC. This greatly enhanced my ability to speak and write in Chinese. Okay, so this is a little bit about my background and how I started. Next, let's move on to what I love about my job. It was difficult to do this slide. I had trouble summarizing what I love so much. But actually, this is really true, and I'm so glad I did this. So I understand what I love about my job better. First of all, is the creativity. I love being creative, but we are all creative in our own ways. I'm not artistically talented. I can't draw very well. I can't sing well, but I can speak. I love writing. I play with words. I love wordplay. I love sounds and I love music. So being a radio DJ allows me to be creative with the three things that inspire my creativity the most: words, sounds, and music. So this is one of the main reasons why I love my job so much. Also, there are many possibilities. I like the fact that this job is not just one thing. It's not just one area. There's a possibility of any kind of new experience. There are no limits to where this job can bring me. I have done whitewater rafting, which is something which I cannot imagine that I would ever do because I can't really swim and I'm afraid of the water. So I've done that for my job. So that's just an example of there are no limits to where this job brings me. Music, yes, is another main reason why I love being a radio DJ. I really, really love listening to music, classical music, jazz, just music or songs. I love songs as well. I love how lyrics bring meaning to a song. You know, it's like it's like knowing a person, befriending somebody. The music is actually like how this person looks, and then the lyrics brings out the inner soul of a person, and so brings out the inner soul of a song. So I love how it all works together, and how my job is closely tied to this portion. Okay, and of course, it's a little bit similar to what I said about possibilities. No 2 days are ever the same. There's always something new to share on air. You know, every day I have to look at the news. I have to check out what's new, what's in trend, or what has happened the day before, or what's going to happen soon. So there's always something new to share, or someone new to meet or talk to. I've done many interview shows, be it on air or on the TV. So I think, yeah, there's so much to learn from talking to people, asking them questions. Yeah. And so no 2 days are ever the same. Okay. These are some of the main things I love about my job. Let's go on to what I love a little bit less. I don't want to say what I dislike because, well, okay, there are definitely parts of the job that I dislike, but if you look at it in a bigger picture, you always have to remember why you are doing this, and then so you might look at the dislike a little bit differently. So what I love less about my job, especially currently, because I'm a mother of two, um, there is a bit less stability in terms of hours. The hours are irregular. Uh, there used to be a joke. I mean, it's not really a joke. I mean, we laugh at ourselves, radio DJs. We say that we don't have time to eat, and we don't have time. We don't eat at proper times, and we don't have time to go to the toilet. So there's always no time. You know, one song is like 3 minutes or 4 minutes, or maybe 6 minutes max. So you can't really do much in the toilet if you really have to go. So you have to hold it all in until the end of your show, until you're done with your job. So yeah, the irregular hours and also the income portion. I think you're a little bit curious, maybe. I won't say how much we earn exactly because everybody earns different amounts of income, but it's not as stable as say that of perhaps somebody who works in an office or an accountant, maybe. Yeah, or yeah, a job that is more fixed in terms of the roles and responsibilities. So we actually earn as we take on different jobs. Yeah, so the income can be a little bit unstable. Okay, the next thing is career progression. It is not as clearly defined as something that is like a corporate ladder. There's no corporate ladder to climb. Uh, as you can tell, I've been a radio DJ for 20 years and counting. And I'm still a radio DJ. I'm still doing the same thing as I did when I started out, but of course with more experience and a wide variety of experiences. So it is not something that you can progress upwards, I would say. So it's not that clearly defined. You can, there is a choice, but it is not that clearly defined. Yes. Uh, Privacy, compromised to a certain extent. So these days, radio DJs also have to face the audience because in back in the days when I listened to the radio, uh, the radio DJs were really voices only because there were not much ways, there were not many ways to get to see them except for hearing them on radio. So as radio DJs started moving to the screen, on TV, I think you are familiar with Desmond Cole. He hosts a lot of TV shows now. He used to be a radio DJ. He was my mentor actually. And then with social media, more and more radio DJs have to come out and face everyone. So they recognize us, and also with social media, a lot of things are posted online. And these days, DJs have to face, I would say, we have to face considerable cyber stress. I won't say bullying, but it is kind of like cyber stress because listeners are very vocal about their peeves and criticisms, which may be personal, and they will voice these negative opinions on our social media and also directly to us during our show via WhatsApp. So I may be experienced, but sometimes these words can still hurt. I'll be honest about that. So very often these comments are not accurate reflections of our standards of our shows, but they can be hard to ignore and may also cause us to, have some internal conflict, doubt ourselves, and, basically some kind of unhappiness. Okay, and the last part about what I love less, the changing landscape with social media. I want to say this could be also what I love. It's a struggle because it is something new. It is something that's still growing. I'm not used to it, but it is making me learn as I go along. So the social media platform has greatly changed our job nature, especially for our younger DJs. Many of our young DJs have to be content creators as well. So they have to generate and produce original content. Hopefully it gets viral, people share, and more people watch and follow them on social media. So we have to manage our social media accounts as well. This is a whole other area of knowledge. So it's not just good content, but also curated content with high numbers like likes and interactions, etc. So this is another field entirely. So, and there is a team that helps us. But I would say, in summary, with social media, there is a lot more work for a radio DJ now. Okay. Next, I'm coming towards the end of my presentation, but this last part, I want to tell you what you need to be a good radio DJ or to start, as a radio star. Actually, let's do something. I don't know. I mean, maybe we can take a while. You don't have to respond directly to me, but we can try and guess what these pictures mean. A little bit like oral exam. Look at the picture and tell me what you think, or tell yourself, or guess what it means. Okay, the first picture on the top left, you see, I have put a picture of lips with audio sound waves, right? So, what do you think that means? Okay. Okay. What it means is you have to speak well, of course, and preferably have a pleasant voice. Okay, I wanna say that we don't nowadays, especially, there is no fixed definition of a pleasant radio voice. But back when I joined radio, there's always an impression of a pleasant radio speaking voice. But now it's a little bit less of a industry requirement. But there are ways to project your voice pleasantly, and that is the technical part that you will learn, or you will have to be able to do when you join the industry. But speaking well is, of course, a definite must. Okay, the second picture, which is the top right, I think you can roughly tell it's a brain. Okay, so I put a brain there because I feel that as a radio DJ, you need to be able to think very fast on your feet. Yes, you prepare for your show. We prepare for our shows, but it is live. So as with every live show, be it on the radio or on TV or online, you need to be able to think fast on your feet, and while also having very good focus on what is it that you're doing. So what is the message that you're trying to bring across? But what are the changes going on? What's happening? You need to be able to balance both. So the brain also represents knowledge and creativity, which I mentioned earlier, which will very often show through what you say. So knowledge comes from preparation. It can be daily reading or actual research before a show. And creativity, of course, is how you can bring out the same thing, perhaps in a different way, in a surprising way. Okay, middle left. Okay, the ear picture. Well, I think this is pretty much self-explanatory. You need to have a good ear. You need to have a good ear to listen well. What we say is just as important as what we hear. I have always believed that a good radio presenter is able to differentiate what sounds good and what doesn't. This sounds very subjective, and to a certain extent, it is. But with proper training and experience, you will be able to make a good judgment. It can be the audio quality of a song or a trailer. Audio quality, I'm not trying to say whether this song is nice or not, but how it sounds and whether it's of a good audio quality, or the way program elements flow, like from one song to the other. Is it a smooth transition? Our own voices, is it in the best tip-top condition, or the rhythm of our show? All these, we need a good ear to hear that, and we need to make changes or tweaks if necessary. Okay, the fourth picture is the one on the right in the middle row. It's in the shape of a heart. I think it's also quite obvious. It means passion. Sometimes I think the word passion is a little bit overused, but okay, in this case, I still think that to work in anything that involves creativity, passion is important, very important, because love for what you do fuels your talent, and that will help you go far. Okay, the bottom row, the last two pictures, I think the one on the left is a little bit more yeah, a little bit more abstract. Okay, I put this picture here to represent balance. As you can tell, a radio DJ today needs to do many, many other things besides being on radio. It's not always easy balancing so many duties. So I constantly remind myself that I am a radio presenter. That's my main job. Okay, so on my own scale, on my own balance scale, that's the big stone on one side. And on the other side are the smaller stones, which represent the other jobs that I do. So that's how I balance my scale. Another interpretation of this balance picture is that a good producer balances show elements well. How much talk, how much music, how much content is heavy, how much is light. So we need to be able to plan the big picture, but also take care of the smallest details. So that's balance. And last, final picture on the lower right, well, is of course, it represents hard work. Enough said. I don't have to say anymore, right? Okay, no. But not many people see the brain work or the heart and soul that we put into our audio production and the long hours as well, because we're only on air for up to 4 hours each day, or maybe half an hour to an hour on a TV show. But you can be sure that every radio jock is a hard worker. We are driven, we're competitive, we're often impatient. Well, most of us are. So these three qualities actually fuel us to, put in our very, very best every single time we're on air, every single time we're doing a project. And sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes I feel that I can be a bit hard on myself, too hard on myself. Sometimes I listen to the things that I produce over and over again, like 20 times over a few days. And every single time I listen to it, I make a change. I make a change. I make a change. And I have to tell myself, okay, I need to stop. It's getting subjective. It's good. It's good. So yeah, that's how driven and that's how detail oriented some of us really, really are. Okay, I've come to the end of my presentation actually. I hope I have given you a clearer picture of what it means to be a radio personality. Uh, yeah, so are there any questions from anyone in this meeting? Can you be a radio star with zero credentials? For youth today, do they need to study mass comm? Okay, for this question, I can tell you no, you don't have to study mass comm. Although being in graduating with a related degree helps you to a certain extent because it prepares you for the industry. But a lot of times, what the shows that you host and present are not industry. The content itself is not industry related. So even if you study, I don't know, psychology or Chinese studies or English literature, it's all relevant. You can always put it into the content. Yes, but of course, if you have a mass communication, maybe I think there are options at WikiWe now for double majors or more. So if you have a mass comm background with business, well, that is definitely going to help you. The more you know, the more you're going to be able to put in all your shows, all your content. Uh, can you just do a podcast and wish for the best? Okay. The way to enter the industry directly, of course, the most direct way is competition through competitions. Um, I think we have regular contests. The last time we did a radio contest, it could be 2 or 3 years ago, if I'm not wrong. But we do regularly have DJ search nowadays, and if you happen to see that, then yeah, go for it. But there is a star there was a Star Search audition recently. I think they have closed auditions. Yeah, you can also go for Star Search auditions, and tell them, hey, I want to be a radio DJ. I mean, that's a way to get in as well. You can do a podcast, of course. If it takes off, we'll be looking for you. And of course, if you want to, you can always, there's so many ways to contact me or any of our radio personalities through IG. Yeah, so you can just talk to us, and tell if you're really, really interested and you feel that, yes, I can do this, just drop us a direct message. Um, what do you think the struggles of a DJ were in the past? And what are some of what are some of the struggles now? Uh, I'm sorry about the knocking. Okay. Uh, what are some of the struggles in the past? Do you think it was easier before? I don't think so. I think every era has its own challenges. Yeah. So I don't think it's easier now than before. What were the struggles back then? I think it was a little bit harder to how do I put it? Nowadays with AI, with a lot of access to the internet, because I did start out. Okay, when I started out, there was already internet, but perhaps it's a lot of things are less accessible. Like, for example, nowadays, if you want certain sound effects, you can go online. There's a lot of copyright free sound effects that you can use. Or maybe even if there is a copyright, you can just pay a small amount and to use it. But back in the days when I just started out producing radio dramas, especially, uh, I had to use. We had a bank. We had a sound effects bank in terms of 20, which were stored in 20 CDs. So it was very inaccessible. It was very tedious. Yeah, so you had to look through this list of very small words, door opening creak, wooden door opening, it's listed in that way. And you had to go one by one to find the sound effects that you need because it was not readily available online. I think that was one of the more interesting struggles that I remember. Yeah. And also, I feel technology has improved so much. It's okay. I wouldn't say very easy. It's much easier to make your voice sound attractive nowadays. Yeah. Uh, who has been the most interesting guest I have hosted and why? Okay, I'm gonna have to come back to this. Oh, this is the next one is also related. Do you have a favorite experience or person you have interviewed? Favorite. I don't think I have had a favorite. I think almost every guest that I have, almost every guest. I mean, every guest that I remember interviewing, I have found it very interesting to speak to them. And I'll be honest, whether they are pleasant or unpleasant, it was still interesting and it was a learning experience. Um, well, I would say one of my most memorable interviews is probably my first one. My first one as a radio DJ, I was hosting the night show. The song request show. People used to write letters or postcards and send it to our radio station office to request for songs. So I was a host on that show, but that was my very first radio show, and my very first group of artists that I interviewed was Mayday, which I mentioned, the Taiwanese rock band, and I loved their songs. I really liked them, so I was really nervous, but it was very, very fun. Okay. Content creators online seem to overwork themselves? Oh, coming up with fresh content regularly is difficult. Do you feel that with the changing landscape that includes social media, you get burnt out creating content for both visual and audio-based audiences? Uh, I have to say, we do feel like we have to do a lot more than before in terms of creating certain types of content. Um, we don't feel we haven't. I mean, none of us, not anyone that I've spoken to, feels burnt out. Not that I know of. But I do feel that sometimes it is hard to have a focus when when you need to produce for social media and also for mass media. And I think we are still trying to find that balance because to me, mass media is still different from social media. And it has been proven time and again that something that works on mass media doesn't really work on social media. I mean, that's what I've observed. So there needs to be more research and study on our part to actually figure out how do we balance both. But I do think that it is a very encouraging. It's in a very encouraging state. It is helping us to. It is challenging us to think out of the box. It is challenging us to stay ahead and keep ourselves updated with all kinds of different trends that are going on. It's even helping me as a mom because I knowing the social media trends is helping me communicate with my children. I know what's Riz. I kind of know what's Riz. I know what's, yeah, I Skibbity, I guess. So all these things, yeah, are social media content. And but they are not going to work. I mean, you can probably use the word Riz on um mass media. But if you use it all the time, I think you're going to get some negative feedback. Okay. Um, you said need to think on your feet during live shows. Can you outline what goes through your mind as you speak? Like now, how you present or format info and questions, or even what you think when hearing others speak during the show. Okay, this is a very interesting question. I think it's a very well phrased question as well. Okay, what goes through my mind as I speak? Mm, the main thing that I always keep in mind. So before I begin a talk set, that's what we call the talk portion of our shows. I keep in mind the the main part, the main idea that I want to bring out. Okay, okay, so you need to tell yourself what is the main message that you want to send out, and then just before I turn on the mic to speak, I come up with an introduction. I used to write this down, but nowadays I don't really have to for the radio portion of my show. So the how I'm gonna lead into this main part, and then probably, preferably, hopefully, it links to the thing before, perhaps a song. Maybe the song title says, I don't know, I'm so tired. So the main thing that I want to say is how to not be tired, how to make yourself feel better after a tiring day. So how do I link these two together? That's my introduction. Or maybe if I don't want to link, I'll just think of a very funny thing to say, something that captures the listener's attention. How do I get into that topic? And so after I'm done with my intro, I go into the main thing that I want to say, and then I have a conclusion, how I want to end it. The way I train new DJs is this. So whenever you want to talk, especially on your own, if you have no one to banter with, that's the most challenging part. I feel as a radio a host. So because there's no one to talk to you, there's no one to help you, bounce it back. So you have to frame everything properly first. How you're going to start, what is it that you are going to say, and how you're going to end. The ending is just as important because a lot of times, we don't know how we're going to end, and then we keep going around in circles and circles, and then we become very naggy. We repeat things, and then we just end in an awkward tone. So yeah, that's the train of thoughts. Have I answered the question? I think so. Okay, are radio stars extroverts? No. I mean, if you're talking about the 16 personalities, I have done the test a couple of times, maybe 3 or 4 times even. I'm always an INFJ. So I am an I person. I am not an extrovert. What do you do? What do you usually do on a daily basis? What do I usually do on a daily basis? You mean like my job in terms of work, right? So before our radio show, we prepare for it. We do a little bit of research and think about what we want to say today, or if something has happened, like Olympics now is a big thing. So we always try to read up on it before our show. And then, or any entertainment, perhaps Oscars or, yeah, Golden Horse Awards, Golden Melody Awards. We need to know all these things that are relevant to our station, and we need to read them and get ready to talk about them during the show. So we do some preparation, show prep. I nowadays also try to warm up my voice before I talk because, to be honest, 20 years in the business, I've realized that if you don't take care of your voice, it's gonna be bad. Yeah, especially now. I mean, I think maybe post COVID as well. So it kind of affects our voices. So yes, care of voice, warm it up first. We need to, loosen up our cheeks and the lips so that we can pronounce the words properly and deliver things clearly, but without sounding too stiff. Yeah, and so that's before. And then during the show, we are 100% or 120% focused on that because we also do the panel control. We control the panels ourselves. This is the part that is a little bit different from, let's say, in Taiwan or in the US, I believe, where there is a producer that controls the panel, who controls the panel during the show, and the radio host basically just talks. But no, we do everything. We are on the panel, we are on the computer, we talk, and yes, basically we're in control of the entire show. Uh, and after the show, well, we if we do have any meetings for upcoming projects, that's what we do as well. So after the show, it's a little bit like I would say free and easy. We don't have an office that we have to report to, but we do have things to finish, like our regular production, audio production work, maybe voice recording jobs, even TV shows, social media content, filming, etc., etc. Yeah. What is your vision for Singapore and youths, and how has that question changed for you since becoming a parent? Um, my vision. Wow, this is a big question. Uh, I hope that uh recently I actually wrote something for I think it's the 50th anniversary of a bilingual a translation competition, I think in Singapore. I took part in a English Chinese translation competition, nationwide competition, and they're celebrating their 50th anniversary. So I wrote something for the special that they are printing. The yeah, and 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 I ended by saying I wish that bilingualism in Singapore uh, is going to help us create a unique national identity that will unite us as a nation. Yeah, I hope that. I mean, I don't know if I think it applies for this question. So I'm hoping that we as time changes and a lot there in Singapore changes seem to come very quickly, and so I feel that sometimes our children and even myself, I feel like, oh, so much has changed. Oh my gosh, this is not the Singapore that I grew up in. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I haven't seen this. It's new. So I feel that there is something that needs to keep us uniquely Singaporean. And I think one of the ways is our bilingual or tri or multilingual actually. Bilingual meaning maybe for me it's English and Chinese, but for someone else it could be Malay and English. It could be Indian and English, or it could also be Indian, English, and Chinese. So it's so unique. It's Singaporean, and I hope that kind of identity, either bilingual or multilingual identity, is going to unite us as a nation. Uh, has that question changed for you since became a mother? Oh, I think maybe for youth in particular, I hope that, especially my children as well, I hope that they will be able to find their own identity and place in the family, in society, in their social circles. I think it's important to be self-aware, to know yourself, to know who you are, and your place in every setting, be it a social circle, in class, in the family, or in society as a whole. Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I guess that's how it has changed after I became a parent? I have been thinking about this question. Yes. Okay. Do you have any advice to people who want to pursue the DJ career? Well, if you're young, I would just say just do it. If you are, starting out, if you're still not sure, you're just searching for a direction. But something in you tells you that, hey, music and words, let's do it. Then do it. Don't overthink it. I think a lot of times maybe the young people these days, because you're very well informed and there's a lot of ways to find a lot of information. So you know a lot of things. But what is it that's relevant to you? I think it needs to be filtered out. Yeah. Can you share an experience where feedback from audience peers significantly impacted your shows or approach, if any? Or generally, what kind of feedback or criticism have I received? Oh, I've received many over the years. I remember pre-social media era, I used to be critic. I used to have receive criticisms for talking about myself. I think when I shared about my day on air, some back then it was still SMS. It wasn't even WhatsApp. You had to pay to SMS to interact with the radio DJ, and I would receive SMSs that said, "Who cares about your day? Stop talking about yourself." um, it did not. It affected me back then. So I did try and think, oh, was I too self-centered during that talk set? Did I talk too much about myself? So it kind of made me more aware to to always bring out something that relates back to the audience when I talk about myself. Let's say I talk about my day and I said I had a horrible day. And then I would make sure that it goes back. It's always related back to whoever's listening. I hope you're having a better day. Or if you have been having a similar day as me, come on, tell me about it and I'll take away the negative feelings from you. I always make it a point to make the show about the listener and not about myself. Yeah, that was a good learning experience, good learning point. Somebody said no. What does that mean? Okay, yeah, but yeah, so it was a good thing. I was a little bit affected back then because I was still young, and I was like, oh, I just wanted to share, yeah. But I realized that, hey, as a listener, yeah, it could be annoying. It could be, why is this person talking about herself? I listen to the radio to for myself, for me. So that's why I feel that being a radio DJ is a service. I always remind myself it is a service to the person listening. So yeah, that's it. Do you see a generation divide across mass media and social media? Do you think the elderly feels ignored and the mass media helps them feel seen? Um, well, I the first question, do I see a generation divide across mass media and social media? I would say in a way, yes. Um, I feel that in terms of but it's more of a lifestyle thing that differentiates the people consuming mass media and social media. And somehow lifestyle is related to age. So that's how the generation divide comes across. Because for the elderly generation, it's a bit of like you have been used to consuming content this way, so you continue consuming content this way. But I also know of many elderly people, including people in my family and their friends and my relatives, who consume a lot of social media content as well. So it is more of a how should I say it? I don't think it's a gener. Now I take back my answer. Maybe it's not really a generation divide. It is basically a different choice. You have many choices now. It's not like mass media is the only choice anymore. So you have other ways of consuming content, and the elderly. I don't think the elderly feels ignored. You mean like in terms of audience, right? But I do feel that for people like me who are in the industry, we always feel the I would either say stress or motivation to keep in touch with social media, because what I used to do is only for mass media. And now I feel like I need to continue something on social media, keep a little bit of a presence there so as to reach out to the same number or more audience or viewers. So that's where, maybe that's where the generation divide comes in terms of it's not the audience, it's actually the people who create the content, who are behind the content or in front or representing the content, who feel that oh, we need to do this more. But for the younger content creators, they have always had a social media account. They are familiar with it's how they grew up, so it's very easy for them to continue doing things there. Yeah. As a youth, I don't usually listen to radio shows. Have you seen a decrease in listeners over the past 20 years? Do you think radio is in decline somehow? Hearing more about podcasts now. Okay, the last question, right? Yale. Sorry, if I mispronounced your name. Uh, uh, yeah, I understand, because like I said, for the audience, there is a lot of choice. It's not just youth. It's actually everyone. Well, except for maybe really the people who turn on their radios every day who are stationed at home, and they turn on their radios every day as a habit. I think for everyone who loves to listen to songs and content, um, the streaming platforms are the way to go, because you can choose what you want to hear. You are able to select information and content and put together a playlist for yourself. So that's of course very empowering and very fun and enjoyable, right? Um, I think there is probably a change in the number of listeners over the 20 years. But it comes up and down, I would say. Uh, Although I do feel that the time spent listening could have changed more than the number of people listening. Uh, Perhaps it used to be people listen to the radio 5 hours a day, back in the day when there was no Spotify, no Apple Music. But now maybe or only in the car, like 15 minutes. Yeah. So the time spent listening is the greater change, I feel, because there are more choices now. Do you think radio is in decline? I wouldn't say so. There's always been this, there's always been a worry, like whether radio can be replaced. As of now, I feel that there is still no replacement for radio, because it is live, and live shows are always going to be more uh, immersive, more energetic, more fun than any other kind of pre-recorded, pre-packaged show. And it is live with people who are passionate about their jobs and who have fun hosting. I mean, you can hear it. So especially for like morning drive time shows, a lot of our listeners actually tell us that they love the crazy banter, the laughter, on their way to work, to school. Yeah, it is part of their lives now. And so I don't think radio is in decline. I feel that the need for positive energy and something fun in the day is always going to be there. And radio is always going to have the advantage of being right beside you, because I'm talking into your ears. You don't even have to look at anything. There's nothing blocking us. It's right there in your ears. It goes into your brain directly. So I think that kind of contact is never going to be easily replaceable.